I appreciate y'all always checking my videos, right? Going on YouTube and looking at the shorts, um, social media and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. We are and have been talking about becoming our best self. That's what this whole channel is about, in various ways. Okay. So yesterday we did a stream where we were talking about um, basically if you have an idea, you have to have a plan, right? That was basically the idea. And in that, we talked about, you know, if you have an idea, that idea has to be able to solve a problem, right? It has to solve a problem. That got me to thinking, right? It got me to thinking because what I really needed to get across, I felt like I may have not leaned in enough in this one area. Okay. So that's what we're going to do today, right? And that's why I'm saying, right? Is that your problem to solve, right? Because we said that every idea has to have a problem that it's solving. Based on that, though, the question just remains, is that your problem to solve, though? We're going to go into this because I feel like there's different ways to think about that. And so you know how I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I know, right? Is that a lot of people are tired because they keep attaching themselves to problems that were never their assignment. That kind of thing shows up in people's relationships, right? That shows up in people's families, that shows up in friendships, business, and ultimately it's showing up in your purpose, right? So, chat, today I want to ask this question because I really feel it can change your life, right? This can change your life because a lot of us stay drained, distracted, and off course trying to fix problems that were never ours to carry. And again, that's why I'm asking you the question, is that your problem to solve, right? Is it? Let's figure this out because that's what we're here to do today, right? Somebody once told me that if you're a part of a, let's say you're part of a group, you're part of a family, you're part of a couple, you're part of, anything in your life, right? Or you're going somewhere and you see certain things that you feel like is an issue, right? Someone told me that if you see a problem, then it's probably yours to fix. Many years I agreed with that thought process because I got the context in which they were giving it, right? They were basically trying to say that because you're a part of this organization, right? If you're looking, if you're in here and you're doing, doing something or whatever, if you see that a light bulb needs to be changed, then solve the problem, right? Because it obviously, if everybody else that walks around this place, if they didn't see the light bulbs out, then that's not their problem to solve, right? But if that's what catches your attention, then there's something in you that's connecting with this, meaning you should fix it, right? And in a lot of spaces, I can understand that. Like in a family, if you have, you got the dad, you got the mom, you got, 2, 3 kids or something like that, and your kids are walking around and things need to be cleaned up, right? They see the toys all over the floor. You see the toys all over the floor, right? Your wife sees the toys all over the floor, and nobody cleans it up, right? Or the dishwasher needs to be, clean. What do you call it? The dish needs to be put up out of the dishwasher and all of that kind of stuff. But nobody does it, right? And I can understand, like I said, that previous thought process of, well, if you see it, right? If you see a problem and you recognize a problem, then do it. But I think there's a lot of people who don't even see the problem, like they ignore the problem. I think that's something that we need to get into, but not today. Because today, we're really trying to figure out that just because you see the problem, does that make it your assignment? Does that make it your thing that you're supposed to create a business for? Is that something that you're supposed to, go and fix or whatever, right? Because some things you can care about, some things you can pray about, something you can create support around, right? Something that you can advise on. But that doesn't mean that you're the one that's supposed to actually do it. Just because you care about it, just because you might have prayed about it, it doesn't mean that you're the one that's supposed to carry that. Right? Just because I see the problem doesn't mean I'm supposed to solve the problem. And I believe that this is where a lot of relationships end up having issues. Okay? Why? Because it gets real in a relationship, right? And I'm not saying I'm the relationship guru, right? I'm not coming on here trying to say, hey, I know all about relationships and I'm trying to make sure that y'all relationship is good, right? That my relationship is good. That's the only relationship I can worry about, right? My own relationship. I can't worry about yours. But what I can do is connect dots, right? That's what I'm good at. I'm good at connecting dots. Why? Because I can see certain things and it might not be my problem to fix in your life, but it may be my problem to advise, right? If you ask. If you come to my lives, then I'm speaking on certain topics that I feel people kind of mess up or people need to understand more of, or people may need to look at a different perspective, right? Because if we have multiple perspectives, then we may be able to fix them ourselves, right? We might not need someone else to come in, swoop in like a savior and fix it, okay? But that's pending you can see multiple sides of that problem and then make changes in your life. Well, decide what changes need to be made in your life to address that problem, right? Now, when I say changes, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change yourself. That may mean that you need to adjust the way you're looking at it so that way you can approach it in a better mental state, right? In a better emotional state, in a better action state, if action is what's finally decided that needs to happen. Okay? Now, I think when we're talking about this whole relationship part of it, though, a lot of people get into relationships and they're really trying to fix somebody, right? Or they're trying to heal somebody. They may be trying to save somebody. You know what I mean? They're trying to do emotional labor that they didn't sign up for, right? If your partner, okay, has a problem, sometimes you may be just meant to listen, right? It's not on you to fix it for them. If you have a partner, more than likely, that partner's grown too, right? More than likely, that partner may be at least smart enough to be able to address their own issues. Once they realize they have an issue, right? Because we cannot force somebody else to communicate with us, right? That might not be a problem that's yours to solve. You know what I'm saying? We can't force somebody to heal. They may have gone through trauma in their life. They may have, had some issues in their family life prior to you getting with them, right? You can't force that person to heal that trauma. You can support them through it, right? You can be there for them. You might even be able to point them towards some help. But that's not necessarily your problem to fix. You know what I'm saying? That's not your problem to solution for. If that person asks you, hey, I have for illustration purposes only, I'm dealing with this issue and I really would like it if you could help me get through this, right? Maybe they ask you that. If they ask you that, that still doesn't make it your problem. They're asking for help. They're asking for you to support them. They're asking for you to maybe, like I said, point them in the direction of help, right? Why? Because you can't keep trying to save somebody if they don't want to be saved. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're asking you, that's one thing. But that doesn't even mean that you have to take it on as your own issue. That just means that you're supposed to support them through that. Right? Because support is one thing, but trying to be the hero for someone else is something totally different. Right? That's totally different. Especially in a relationship. Right? Because in a relationship, like, again, it's supposed to be you and your partner against the problem. Right? And depending on who has the issue or who the issue is more so towards, depends on how the other person shows up to support them, right? To help them. But again, just because you're helping that other person doesn't mean that you're taking the problem on as your own, right? I even think that there's some problems that are ours, right? Like say when I was growing up, I had a parent who wasn't there, right? Let's just say that for illustration purposes only. Say I had a parent that when I was growing up, that parent wasn't there. If that parent wasn't there, that doesn't make it my problem, right? This is me logically thinking through it. If the person wasn't there, then that doesn't make it my problem. What my problem is how do I handle it, right? How do I look at it, right? Am I holding a grudge because that person wasn't there? Am I possibly acting out because that person wasn't there? Do I have resentment to the parent that was there because the other one isn't there? Maybe they did something wrong that caused them not to be there, right? These are all questions that you have, yes. However, none of that is your problem. What your problem is how am I going to respond to this? How am I going to grow from this? How am I going to build a better version of myself so I can live the best life I can despite what other people have done? Right? Because what other people have done is not my problem. My problem is within me. My problem is how I show up. My problem is whether something in me is blocking me from being my best self. Right? And even towards those people who and in this example, we're talking about family, we're talking about a family member who didn't show up for you. My problem still is not the action that they did, right? No. But one thing I may want to take on is at least finding out why, right? What is the perspective that they had that they thought it was okay not to show up for me, right? Again, that's not necessarily your problem, but it's something that you may want to find out. I get that, right? But you don't have to solve anything, because obviously now, if you're an adult, that happened to you in the past. That was a while ago, right? If that person is still not showing up for you, you're an adult. You got to adult on your own. That's the thing of being an adult, right? Unless you have a partner, right? And when I say a partner, you're married or engaged or working toward that, right? Y'all have an agreement that you're going to get married, that you know, but then that'll make you a fiance. So there's that. Anyway, in this grand landscape of what we're talking about, I think that is the hardest one, right? I think the hardest one is the relationship side, because I want to be there for my partner, right? Like, I want to help them through the challenges in their life, so much so that I may take the problem on as my problem, right? And I can get that. You know how people are like, if you got a problem with them, then you got a problem with me, right? That's taking on a problem, right? That's me inserting myself into the problem and saying, if you got a problem with them, you got a problem with me, right? If you're gonna do something to them, you got to go through me first, right? That's me inserting myself into the problem that was never mine to begin with. And I can see in some aspects how, especially a man, may do that, right? In some aspects, I can see how a woman can actually do that, right? Why? Because that's their partner, right? If a woman comes up and gets in your man's face, is it on that man to deal with it? Or is that woman supposed to insert themselves and be like, you ain't about to come at my man like that, right? Vice versa. Man comes up in your woman's face, what you gonna do? Girl, handle that. Girl, handle him. Girl, handle him. Don't let that man talk to you like that. Is that what you about to do? you gonna put her out there? You gonna make her walk the plank? Deal with that man. Girl, you should have never said that to that man. You better deal with that. Look. If if you have a partner, okay, and I'm using partner on purpose because that kind of encompasses everything from marriage to engagement to boyfriend girlfriend, right? But if if let's just say let's just say let's just say you're waiting for some food, you're standing in line, right? You're standing in line at some fast food restaurant, okay? Fast food joint. And you standing there, but you're on your phone, okay? This is the guy. The guy is standing there and he's scrolling on his phone, okay? Meanwhile, the guy either says something or bumps into your girl, right? You don't even realize because you're on your phone, okay? You just on your phone. Then this guy ends up, or she says, okay, your girl says, hey, you need to watch where you going. right? The guy then says, hey, B, you ain't gonna talk to me any way you think you want to, right? And now she's like, what? B? And now she about to get turned up, okay? But because you so focused on your phone, you're not really hearing it, right? Like you totally are blanking out this whole situation. Now, this dude done shoved your girl, right? What are you gonna do? Right? Because now she pushes back into you and you like, yo, what the what? And then now you realize what's going on, okay? Because he shoved her into you. So now you're looking around, you're like, what's going on? Okay. First of all, you're not paying attention to your girl. So there's a problem right there. That's a problem that you need to handle, dude. But now your girl is getting pushed by this dude. Because you didn't see it go down, right? You wasn't paying attention. Now you about to turn up immediately. Let's just say, right? You about to turn up, and you look and you like, because you were on your phone, your vision is here, right? Your vision is here. So when you get pushed, now you side eye, right? You looking over here, and as you're looking over here, all you see is feet, right? You see his feet, you see your girl, right? Thighs. In the angle, right? In the angle. You see your girl thighs, you see his feet. So as you pan your eyes up and you look, and then you realize that you keep looking and you keep looking and you keep looking, and now your vision is up here. Now you looking like this to him, right? and so now you looking at this dude, this dude, a big dude, he done pushed the girl, right? Shoved your girl, and then come to find out, it really wasn't a shove. Really what it was like just a little, you know what I'm saying? But he's just so big, your girl is just, so now, what are you gonna do? Right? Are you going to insert yourself into that problem? Is that your problem to solve? Right? Or do you say, girl, you better get him. Girl, you better get him. Because he's not going to really hit her. Right? But if you insert yourself, he probably going to hit you. You see what I'm saying? And so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, for real. I need to know. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. What you gonna do? Are you gonna insert yourself in that problem? All right. I'm not gonna answer that right now, but I'm just gonna I'm putting the premise out there because I want to see the comments on this, and I want to see it in the chat. Right? Are you gonna insert yourself in that problem? Because the reason why I'm even giving this right here is because that's one of them examples that no, that's not your problem. However, because it's your girl, it becomes your problem. That's one of those things that you would have to insert yourself in despite it being your problem, right? And that's because that's relationship, right? Would I do the same thing for my family members? Probably. Would I do the same things for my really good friends? Probably. You know what I'm saying? If it comes down to it in one of those type of situations, like an altercation, then there's sometimes that you may have to insert yourself in that problem, right? If anything, not to necessarily go fisticuff, right? Not to knuckle up, but maybe it's just to bring calm into the situation, right? Or separate, right? Create distance in between that issue and the person whom they having an issue with. Right? Sometimes those are the things that you have to do. So you're inserting yourself in the problem, but not to become part of the problem, but to separate the warring parties, if you will. Okay? So that may be a problem that you have to take on, but not in the way of adding to a problem. Okay, so I'm only trying to level set here because there are some things that aren't your problem, but you may have to get in. That's not all the time though, right? Because a relationship, there is an understanding, right? Now, if I get into the problem and let's say it's another dude, right? Dude on dude issue. In that moment, I don't expect my girl to jump in. I don't expect my girl to jump into that, to insert herself into this problem, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There's some wives and women who will. They will jump into that issue. I'm not going to speak on mine because I know her very well. Now, but my statement was, I don't want my girl to insert herself into that issue, right? And I don't expect her to insert herself into that issue. Will she? Maybe. Possibly. You know what I'm saying? But it's not an expectation of mine. However, if it was the other way around, she would expect you to insert yourself into that problem. And I think she should. Right? Now, the thing is, though, in relationships also, that doesn't mean that every problem you're supposed to insert yourself into. Right? Because if she has issues with her family, if she has issues within her childhood, if she has issues with past traumas and things like that, that doesn't make it your issue. That doesn't mean that you're supposed to insert yourself in. That may mean that you're just there to support it. Right? So in that case, that's not your problem to solve. It just may be something that you can put yourself out there to support her, not to solve it, not to fix it. Right? There's a lot of things, especially in relationships, because we're still in this relationship side. There's a lot of things in relationships that you are not supposed to solve for that other person. And I'm not just saying that for men trying to solve a problem for women, but also women trying to fix a man. Right? It's not your problem to solve. It's not. I'll tell you this though, and this is something that I really want to get across because I really feel like really strongly about this, right? Not saying that it's right, but this is what I believe. I believe that as a couple, it's supposed to be you two against the world, right? Now, when I say couple, I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm not even talking fiance. I'm talking marriage. Once you've married somebody, their problems do become your problems. Right? They become your problems. However, that still doesn't make it your problem to solve. Right? Or that doesn't make you responsible to heal that person. Right? That doesn't make it you responsible to go in and insert yourself into their traumas. Right? And I'm using the word traumas on purpose because, again, you can't heal anybody. Right? You can't heal anybody. You could pray about it. Right? You can try to put pieces in place that can help to support them. You can make sure that you can give them an ear, that you can be a soft place for them to land when they're stressed in those trauma episodes. Right? But you can't fix it. You can't heal it. You can't. That's not your problem to solve. It is really not. Okay? So, let's move on. I hope that was clear enough when it comes to relationships. I really do. Because relationships are challenging, right? Relationships are challenging. And the reason why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, because I've been in a relationship for more of my life than I haven't. Okay? For more of my life than I haven't, I've been in a relationship. So here's the thing. Let's talk about this business side. Let's talk about the business side. Because I always try to give you guys multiple perspectives of a topic, right? As much as I can, depending on the topic. Because I believe that these things go hand in hand, right? The same principles that you use in a marriage, the same principles that you use in a business. I did that before. I told you before on a previous stream. You can go back and look at it. Go to the YouTube. You'll see it. But I told you on a previous stream that marriage is like a business, right? And if you didn't see that stream, then you can also go over to my social media, right? You can go over to my Instagram, right? That's Rich Bees, RICHBZ. Go to Rich Bees, look at my videos, and you'll see one video where I'm standing up there in front of a pool on a microphone with a house or something in the background. I'm standing outside at a pool party doing a TED talk, right? Go look at that, because that's where I put it together that marriage is like a business. Okay? Business is like a marriage. So, as we try to bring these two things together and get some clarity and some understanding, I want you to know that this same issue takes place in business too, right? Sometimes people build businesses all around problems that nobody asked them to solve, right? That nobody will pay to fix, right? It doesn't even match their actual strengths, meaning I'm coming in to solve a problem that nobody asked for, and then on top of that, that problem that nobody asked for, I don't even really know how to solve it, but I'm gonna try, right? Basically, I'm not even good at what it takes to solve this problem, but I'm still gonna go in there and try to build a business around that, right? Because all that does is it pulls you away from your real lane, right? It pulls you away from your real lane. That lane that you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist, or nobody asked for, or nobody even feels like it's a problem there. Why are you trying to solve that, right? Because I think that a lot of people have a good heart, right? They have a good heart, and yet they're trying to build the wrong thing, right? Because you can be passionate about something. You can think that there's that it would be good if this thing, existed or whatever. That's fine. But that might be the wrong problem, right? In business, if I solve the wrong problem, I can work really hard, waste a lot of time, and build the wrong thing. And then I'm sitting here wondering, why don't nobody get this thing that I spent 4 years building, right? I went through, hell and high water to build this thing, but nobody likes it. Nobody's understanding what it is. Nobody gets it, right? Why aren't nobody getting it? Why isn't that ain't even good English? Why isn't anybody getting it? Because you solved a problem that didn't exist, right? That problem did not exist, that you created some business for. There was no problem there. That's what I said when I was talking yesterday, when talking about planning and talking about understanding your idea and being able to make a plan for it, right? You have to solve a problem, a valid problem. And a lot of times when you're looking for that problem, you have to focus group it, right? You have to get a couple people and ask them some questions. That's what a focus group is, right? They're focusing on, is this really a problem, right? Okay. All right, let's make it real. Here's something crazy. Let me see if I have it. Let me see where it is. Where is it at? Okay, bingo. All right, on my shelf. 1 second. Let me grab this. I think this is probably the better one. All right. So, you know me. Sometimes I get random visual aids, right? I get random visual aids depending upon what we're talking about. And I think is this one? Oh, I hope so. I don't want to give y'all the wrong thing, but I hope this is one. No, it's not. Where is it? What in the what? Oh, it was the black one. Okay, hold on. I think it's this one. All right, so I think it's this one. Is it? I have a lot of notebooks. It's not this one. Daggone. I thought I had. Where are my notebooks at? My bad, people. My bad, chat. I got notebooks and I don't know where they are right now. Cause I have a lot of notebooks. I have a lot of these little journal type notebooks, right? Um, I need to get back into writing in these more, right? This is a little side note. I need to get back into writing in these more, but I've been using the notes app on my phone, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. There's no reason for me to like put it on paper because I can search them. I can, um, get to them no matter where I'm at, right? But also, the notes app is not necessarily the journal app, right? The journal is a little bit different, and I use that on my phone too, right? Because it's encrypted and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm gonna give you my point anyway. I'm gonna give you my point, even though I don't have the visual aid, because this one is not that. Yeah, this isn't that. This isn't the one I was looking for, but and I have multiple of them, but I just don't know where they are since I've moved into this location. So here we go. um my spouse saw that I had an issue. Okay? What was my issue? My issue was that when I write, because I'm left-handed, my hand drags across what I just wrote, which then does what? Smear the paper, right? Not to mention, when I write, if it's a right-hand notebook, especially the ones with the spirals, it hurts my hand, right? It hurts my hand because it's like you can't get the right position to even write, and so it makes sure the legibility of your writing suck. Okay, so here's the thing. My wife said, you know what? Somebody thought that that enough people had this problem, left-handed writers, right? That they created notebooks that are left-handed notebooks, right? They open the opposite way than most books, which means you're not always writing on the seams, right? You're writing on the not seam part, right? The open part, which makes it easier to write on, and your hand doesn't, and then on top of that, it opens flat, right? It opens flat because once you start writing on this side of the paper is when your hand is on the seam, so it opens flat. So it solves the main problem of left-handed writers being able to write on a notebook. Okay. The other, even though there were already solutions out there, somebody said, I want to write in a journal, right? Because the solutions that are out there are what? Pads. Pads like this, right? The ones that flip vertically, right? The yellow legal pads, right? Those are good for left-handed writers, right? But it doesn't put it in a nice bounded, nice journal like this. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't put it in something like this. That's a big gaudy yellow pad, but having something that's like this, it just, I don't know, it feels good, right? It feels good. So there's that. There was a problem that existed that somebody found value and that other people would find value in that thing, right? So that was a problem that did exist, and it was a problem that they thought they can solve by creating something specifically for left-handed people, right? That's how you can solve a problem, right? But if they were left-handed themselves, then they may have not had to do a focus group that much. But I'm pretty sure they still did because they wanted to get other people's take after they made it. But when it comes to you looking at a problem, okay, here's what I'll say. I can almost guarantee the person who came up with it wasn't a right-handed writer. The person that came up with a left-handed notebook, a notebook a journal for left-handed people, I'm pretty sure was a left-handed writer. The person who actually made the first idea for it, I'm pretty sure was a left-handed writer. It couldn't have been a right-handed writer. Why? They wouldn't have known the problem existed. Right? Now, there may have been some right-handed writers that said, ooh, that is smart. Let me help you. Let me support you. Right? To get it out to people. But the person who came up with the idea, left-handed writer. Had to be. Had to be. Because to a right-handed writer, that problem did not exist. So, this is what I'm saying when I say that some problems are the problem that you should solve. Some problems are not. Right? And that's a kind of surface one. Get it? Surface on the notepad, right? This writing surface. But, that might not be your problem to solve. Right? Is it a problem? It may be. But it's not your problem. Right? If you stay in the lane of your problem, right? Say if you're a right-handed writer and you out there trying to create a writing pad for a left-handed writer, one, it's not a problem that you even have, right? That's not your problem to solve. So why in the world are you trying to insert yourself into somebody else's? Right? Can you support them? Yeah, you can see that as support, right? I'm gonna create something for them, but really it's not your problem to solve. Right? So now you got to rely on other people to try to test, to try to see, to try to figure out what's the best solution, because that's not a problem that you have. Right? So but why? I'm going to ask this question. Why? And in the terms of what we're talking about right-handed writers, right? For a left-handed solution. But I'm going to ask the question like this. Why do people who don't have the problem try to solve that problem? Right? Why do people do this? My thought process is because sometimes solving other people's problems may make you feel important. Right? It might make you feel valuable. Maybe you want to feel needed. Right? In the terms of a couple, you might want to feel connected. Right? But then there's other people who only want distraction from the work that they're supposed to do. Right? I'd rather solve this person's problem because that means I don't have to solve the problems that I have. Right? And I think if I keep, and I don't want to keep staying on this couple thing, but I don't know. I feel this pull to that because sometimes I can mask my problems by always focusing on your problems and always trying to fix your problem, right? I'm not even showing mine, right? I'm not even putting mine out there in the ether because I want to make any problems yours and we have to work on yours and I'm going to help you fix yours. Right? And that's where it gets uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable in this conversation, but that is safety to a person who wants to come in and fix somebody else's problem so that way they're not looking at your problems. Right? And I can honestly say that sometimes I may do that. I not cover my own problems because that's not what we're talking about today. But I may end up trying to fix a problem that's not my own because it keeps me from doing the thing that I need to do. The thing that I have to do that I may not want to do. Right? So if I come in and I try to help you fix your problem, then I can have a reason why I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Right? Well, I didn't do that thing because you know what I'm saying. Like I was remember we were trying to work on your problem, right? And then sometimes you get into the thing of, well, if I help you with your problem, then my expectation now is that you're gonna come and help me with my problem, right? So I'm not gonna do my thing. I'm not gonna do the assignment and things that I have to do. I'm gonna focus on your problem, right? And then after we finish and we get your problem rectified, now I'm expecting that you're gonna come and help me with my problem, right? Mutually beneficial. But what you realize is it's not your problem. After we've helped you through yours, you get this I can't even get the word out. You get this epiphany that, well, hold on, that's not my problem. Yeah, that's your problem. You need to fix that. Knowing full well that I just spent years helping you get through your problem. Chat, today I feel like I'm on, but I also feel like I'm all over the place with this topic. Why do I feel that way? Because we were talking about business and now I got sidetracked. Right? I got sidetracked. But the thing about it is I can get back on track. So let's get back on track. When we're talking about businesses, right? When we're talking about businesses and solving a problem that's not yours, or is that your problem to solve? Like either way you look at it. In business, right? If we just talk about creating a business now. So if we look at the whole thing of creating a new company, when I'm creating a new company, the very first thing I have to find out is, well, what problem is out there that I'm trying to solve, right? What problem is out there that I'm trying to solve? I don't think that there is um because if I think about the problems that my companies are solving currently, I didn't find them because I was going to look for problems, right? Like I didn't find those niches, if you will, right? Those uncovered holes because I went looking for holes to fill, right? I found them when I was doing what I already do, right? I was already working in those areas and realized, hey, nobody has a solution for this, right? This is something I need right now, and nobody has a solution for it. That's how I ended up coming up with the ideas that we currently have, right? One of the businesses was an idea that somebody else, right, member of my team, came up with, right? Like they initially thought it up. They were like, and it wasn't that they thought of what the solution could be. What they said is they recognized the problem. They said, this doesn't exist. And it's frustrating me because I can't do my job. And I immediately said, oh, well, there's an idea. Why don't we create that? Right? That's a good idea. There's a hole there. There's a niche there. There's a target audience of people who are just like you who need this. Why not create that? Right? And so that's what we did. I think that you find the holes as you're already on the mission for the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? Like you're already headed towards a goal. It may not be your final goal, but you're headed towards a goal. You've chosen a goal already. In trying to get to that goal, you end up finding holes that make it where you can't get to your goal because that thing isn't being created. That thing doesn't exist yet. That thing is being solved, but in a way that could be solved better. That to me is how you end up finding where the problem you're supposed to solve lies, right? especially if it's a problem that you have the tools to solve, right? But I feel like there's a lot of people who go looking for problems, right? I'm going to look for a hole. I'm going to start a business and I'm going to find a hole. So everything I'm around there searching, where's the holes? Where's the holes? Where's the problems? Who else has a problem? What you said you got a problem? What problem you got, right? Like I'm looking for the problems. But the people who I've seen who've done things like that, they end up trying to solve the wrong problem, right? They're solving a problem that isn't a problem, or they're creating a solution for something that people didn't already have a problem, right? Wow. If I have a cup, right, and I'm having dental work done, then maybe I need a cup that doesn't mess up my dental work, right? Maybe I need something that allows me to drink without messing up my dental work. Like, I could look for that problem, okay? I can look for that problem. But is there even a problem? Meaning, do people who get dental work actually have a problem drinking out of cups? I don't know. I don't have dental work. So is that a problem that I'm supposed to solve? Is that my problem? Do I need to take that problem on? I don't know. Why? I don't have dental work, right? So now I got to go find somebody who has dental work, ask them, is that a problem? If I even do that, because a lot of people won't even do that. They'll just say, you know what? I seen on TV where this person had, dental work, and there needs to be something for people like that. So I think that we should create them a straw. Straw already exists. And depending on the dental work that's been done, sometimes they tell you you should you shouldn't I'm gonna use the word, you shouldn't suck in, right? From a straw. Because that pressure pulls out the dental work. The filling, right? I'm not saying that I know all this is fact. What I'm saying is what I've heard. But also, that still isn't a problem that you face. So how can you accurately assess the situation to find out whether there's a problem there that needs to be solved? And on top of that, should that be solved by you? If you don't know anything about dental work, if you don't know anything about cups, if you don't know anything about manufacturing, if you don't know anything about product design, why is that a problem that you feel like you can solve? Right? When you already worked in, let's say, janitorial facilities. Let's say you got a job as a janitor, right? I'm pretty sure you can already find a hole or a problem or a niche within the area of expertise that you already run in and been running in for years, right? If you're a housekeeper, I'm pretty sure you can find a solution for something that involves something that you already know. You like, every time I'm folding these sheets, like I've had a problem because they don't fold well, right? The fitted sheet does not fold well. Is there a solution that can be created for that? Right? Do you have a trick of the trade that you found out over years that makes it fold easier? Is there some solution that you can build to make that work? You would know more about that than I would. Even though I have a problem with folding sheets, I don't know enough about it. Right? I don't know enough about it for that to be my problem. I'll take that fitted sheet and roll that bad boy up like this and and put it in the closet. You know what I'm saying? If I roll it small enough, I can put the flat sheet on top of it and it still flattens out. Let's go. Keep it moving. That's not my problem to solve. And it's okay, right? Because if maybe here's the problem. Maybe the problem is the fact that I just don't like it how it sits in my closet, right? In my linen closet. Maybe I don't like the fact that it's not organized and flat and looking nice, right? Like it came. Maybe I don't like that. So then maybe there's another solution that can be made, which already exists, right? The other solution is them vacuum seal bags. I can put it in a vacuum seal bag, vacuum that joint up, it flattens it out. I can put them all in there and wham, bam, flat, done, even though I rolled it up like this when I put it in there. Listen, I'm just saying that more than likely there's already a lot of solutions depending upon the problem itself, right? So if you think about that, it makes it easier for you to work inside your vein and find the holes there, because other people who work inside your vein probably are dealing with the same problem, right? That's why I said business is a little bit different than family, because family, it's more like, that's your problem. All I can do is support you. I can't heal you. I can't fix it for you. I can't, I can't win in that situation. It's actually me adding on to that problem because I'm inserting myself into that problem. And now, not only does that person have to deal with the trauma or the problem that they have, now they also have to deal with your feelings about it and how you process trauma and how you now you've added on to their problem. Right? So that's why I'm saying in relationships it's harder, because that's not your problem to solve unless it's some kind of physical one like we expressed, we did an example of. But when it comes to business, I personally think that you need to stick in the realm in which you know to find the problem, to then be able to create a great solution for it. I'm not saying that you can't step out of the box, right? Because everybody has hobbies. At least you should, right? One of my hobbies is bowling. Okay. Now, I've been bowling for years, many years. And I would say that I'm pretty good at it. I would venture to say I'm pretty good at it. Okay. I'm not saying I'm the best. Could I join the PGA? Well, not PGA, PBA, right? Maybe. Would I win? I don't know. Maybe on a good day, right? Maybe on a good maybe I have a good run, but I'm still okay. I think I'm still okay. Okay. Now, with that being said, because I have a hobby of bowling, there may be something in that realm, something in the bowling space that I may know a little bit about, right? I may find a hole in there that possibly I can solve, right? One of the problems that I have when I go bowling is the whole scoring screen computer setup, right? Now, I do a lot in tech, okay? I do a lot of tech. I can make apps and things like that. So is there something that, because I have a problem with that whole scoring system and the way the screen works and the way it even shows up and all that kind of stuff, everything looks busy to me. Like there's just so much going on. Maybe there's something I can do with that, right? But is there enough for a business case to do it? I don't know. Why don't I know? Because I'm not in that space. Right? Even though I operate in that space very regularly, I'm not in that space enough to know the intricacies, right? Behind, is there really a business case for it? Some way that I can make money, right? Because like I said yesterday, like you have to know how that idea is going to make money. Because ultimately, trying to solve the wrong problem is gonna cost you, right? It's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you energy. It's gonna cost you focus. It's gonna cost you peace. It's gonna cost you time. It's gonna cost you money. It's gonna cost you your purpose probably. It might cost you, clarity. You don't even understand what's going on in your life, right? It might even cost you the right opportunities. You may end up on all these wrong opportunities, right? Opportunities that wasn't even built for you. all because you're trying to solve the wrong problem or a problem that was never supposed to be yours, right? And that's why I'm really trying to let you guys know, right? Like, people end up frustrated with their life because they've poured mad working hours, mad time into something that was never theirs to carry. Right? Now, the real thing that you should have been doing with your life, the real progress, the real opportunity, the real growth potential area that you should have been doing in your life, right? Now never comes to fruition because you're sitting there working on a problem that may be somebody else's. And you're wondering why you're not even successful in it. Right? Or even in your relationship, you were out here feeling drained, right? You're feeling overwhelmed. You don't feel like your relationship is productive, right? Because you're trying to solve problems in that relationship that's not yours to solve, right? Trying to solve the wrong problem can cost you your right life. Because if I don't have peace, what does that mean? How am I going to be effective in my life if I'm in chaos because I'm not built for those problems? You know what I'm saying? I'm built for the problems that I'm supposed to solve. I'm built for the problems that are mine, not the problems of somebody else. Because if I was built to solve your problems, then I would be you. If you were built to handle my problems, then you would be me. Does that make sense? Again, we can support each other, right? I may be built to support you as you go through your problems. But your problems are not my problems, and I shouldn't take on your problems. And your problems are not mine to solve. Right? All of this actually matches up with things that we've talked about on previous streams, right? Because we've talked about boundaries, right? Those are the things that you have to create to keep your peace and to hold out everything that doesn't fit what's supposed to be in your life. Right? We talked about focus. When you're focused, you're only looking at your path. Right? You're not out here trying to solve somebody else's problem. If we're going downhill in a ski, right? On skis, if we're going downhill on skis, you are over here, let's say on a snowboard. I am on skis. Okay. As you're going down the slope in your snowboard, you're trying to dodge these trees, right? Slaloming through there. I'm on a straight downhill path, going through my path. The trees are going beside me, but I found my hole. I'm staying in there. I can't come over there and help you to get around these trees. These trees are your problem. That's your life. That's your path. You chose to put on this snowboard and go slaloming down through these trees. And I'm over here on my skis going straight down this mountain. I have my own problem. The problem of how am I going to slow down when I get down to the bottom of this mountain. You have your own problems. You know what I'm saying? I can support you, meaning I can yell over there, yo, tree coming. Watch the bear. I can support you. Bro, keep it up. You're doing good. You know what I'm saying? I can support you. But I can't make your problems my problems. Because if I come over there, my skis aren't built to go through them trees like that. My skis ain't. Or maybe it might be my legs. My legs ain't built to make my skis go through those trees like that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't my problem to solve. Right? So if I'm gonna stay focused on what I got going on, right? I gotta make sure I uphold my standards for what I want to see in my life. That was a whole nother episode, right? Standards. Right? So once I'm creating these plans, I'm creating plans on something that I know. I'm creating plans on something that is my problem, right? That way I can deal with the type of pressure that creates because I'm built for that pressure. The pressure that's a part of my goal. The pressure that's a part of my plans. The pressure that comes from my problems. The pressure that comes from my traumas. Right? Because if I keep taking on what isn't for me or what isn't mine, my focus gets all crazy. Right? I get defocused. My pressure ends up going up as well as my blood pressure. Right? My plans end up never working out. Right? I end up compromising my boundaries. All because I'm taking on problems that aren't mine. Right? I end up compromising my standards. Does that make sense? Like, not every open door is my door. Just because opportunity is an open door for you doesn't mean that it's your door, right? Not every need that someone has is your assignment. It's not the thing that you're called to do. This is the thing that we need to understand. You know what I'm saying? So how do I know? Right? That's the question that needs to be asked. How do I know? Here's the thing that you can ask. Here's some questions that you can ask, right? I'm telling you, this is as serious as serious gets. Because a lot of people waste a lot of time in this part right here. Taking on problems that aren't theirs. Okay? The questions that we might need to ask, let's start off with something like, does this actually belong to me? Right? Does this problem that I feel this need to solve, does it actually belong to me? Is this something that I'm supposed to solve? Right? Next question. Am I even built for this? Right? Am I built to solve this problem? Right? That makes me also ask the question like, am I being led by wisdom, right? Wisdom that my mindset, you know what? Based on the other things you've done in your life, I'm probably the right person to solve this problem, right? I can see the path of things that need to be done that can solve this because I understand it enough, right? So I'm moving out of knowledge applied makes intelligence. Intelligence over time makes wisdom. Wisdom is how I need to lead myself through my life, not emotion, right? So am I being led by wisdom or am I being led by emotion? Right? Because if I'm just mad because I can't do something and there's a problem, and I think that somebody needs to solve this. So if ain't nobody gonna solve it, I'm gonna solve it. Right now, I'm led out of emotion, not by wisdom, saying that this is actually a problem that belongs to me. I'm built for this. I'm being led by wisdom, right? And me solving this problem is connected to my purpose, right? That's a question that you have to ask yourself. Is this problem connected to my purpose? Right? My purpose in life, if I solve this problem, is me solving this problem connected to where I'm going? Right? I think you need to ask the question also, am I solving this problem because it's mine? Or am I solving this problem because I feel guilty if I don't? Right? These are hard questions. What this speaks of is discernment. Right? I don't know if we've ever talked about that word on this live. I don't know if we've ever talked about the word discernment. But we might need to. We might need to. We might need to talk about what discernment is. Right? Because compassion without discernment will wear you out. Right? If you have compassion with no discernment, you'll be worn out. Why will you be worn out? Because you'll want to help everybody. You'll want to take on everybody's problems. And you see that there's a lot of people like that. There's people out there who constantly, they have so much compassion that they feel like they have to help everybody. But that might not be your problem to solve. It's okay. I'm telling you, it is okay to want to, or to feel like somebody needs help. Right? Your way to help may just be, hey, let me make a call for you. I know somebody who can help you with that. Right? Connect somebody with a resource. But don't take that problem on as your own. Right? And there's nothing wrong with having compassion, right? Okay, here's another thing. Let me give you an example. Say I'm driving down the street, right? And as I'm driving, I see a car stopped in the middle of the road, and they need help for that car to get it out the road, right? They need help with the car, right? And it's in the middle of the road. Okay, so it broke down. It's still in the middle of the road, basically kind of blocking traffic. Okay. Now, compassion says, let me help them fix that car. Right? Compassion says, there's something wrong with that car. They need help fixing it. Let me help them fix that car. Right? That's what compassion says. With discernment, may look like, compassion with discernment may look like they're stopped in the middle of the road. I need to get to work. Maybe I can at least help them get it out the street. Right? Because it's blocking my path too. So let me jump out, help push that car to the side of the road, and then get back in my car and go to work. Right? I've still acted on the compassion, but I've used my discernment to say that their car breaking down is not my problem. Right? Why? I'm not built to handle that. Why am I not built to handle it? Now, me, I'm a little bit different story because I do know how to fix cars, but I'm not a mechanic. They need a mechanic. They need somebody whose job is to fix cars. You know what I'm saying? They need somebody whose job it is to fix cars, or somebody who has the time to do that. Now, in a day that, maybe I am not busy. I don't have anything else I'm doing at that day, right? I'm driving. This car breaks down. It's on the side. It's in the road. I help push it over to the side. Because I have time though, I may ask them, yo, what's going on? Is it, what's happening with it? And they may say, well, I think I might have run out of gas, right? That might be a little bit different. That day, compassion may went out. Why? Because that's an easy fix. I can solve that. I can help you get to the gas station, right? I can help you get to the gas station to get the gas, get back to your car, right? If you put that gas in there and that car don't start, bro, I can't now say, well, let me pop that trunk. Like let's drop the gas tank and see if it's the gas pump, right? If it's the fuel pump, maybe I don't know. I'm not. Compassion says help them, right? Discernment says support them, right? Support them. I may say, hey, you know what? I got a homeboy I can get you on the phone with. They're a mechanic. And maybe you can, talk to him, let him get you a record or something, get him to the shop, and they can take a look at it, right? That's me supporting. That's not me taking on the problem, right? Because healthy, when it comes to helping or supporting someone, looks like helping without over owning. I can't over own this problem, right? It's not my problem, right? Healthy can look like I can love you through it without trying to rescue you from it, right? And you know what? Hold on. That made me think of this funny thing. And I don't know why I'm doing a side note right here. I don't know why I'm doing an aside, but here's a side note. Remember when we were talking about the whole dude pushes your girl, right? Boom, pushes into you. You had that little altercation, right? You got to get into it. Okay. In that situation, I personally think that you may have to rescue, right? You might have to rescue. That's not a situation that I'm supposed to love you through it. Baby, you might just have to talk. You're going to have to talk to him, baby. You're doing good, baby. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and swing. Go ahead and swing. Use your left hand, baby. Use your left hand. Come on, babe. Bob and weave now. Bob and weave. Come on, baby. You can't. I know it hurts. I know it hurts. Hey, baby, I know it hurts. I know it hurts. Watch out. Don't worry about it, baby. When we get home, I'll put some ice on it. Hey, you can't do that. I'm telling you right now, you can't do that. That's not the thing to do. That's not the thing to do. Rescue that girl. Get her out of that problem, bro. Get her out of that problem, bro. You can't do that to her. You can't do that to her. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that to her. That's not, you're not supposed to love her through that. You're supposed to help her out of that. All right. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's the first time I fell out of a chair. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Hold up. All right. So, what? Let's get back on point. All right. What healthy looks like is building, right? Building where there's actual value, okay? There's actual value there, right? You're not solving the wrong problem. You're not solving a problem that's not yours. You're solving a problem that there's actually value if you build that, okay? Healthy can also look like staying in your lane, right? Without being selfish, right? So when I was talking about driving and helping that person, right? Selfish would have been, oh, that person stopped in the middle of the street. Foot on gas, pedal to the floor, let me leave, right? That might be selfish, right? Because there was no compassion used there at all, right? Me stopping and at least helping to get them out the road to a safe place, right, to a safe place off the road, out of the road, that was me not being selfish, still staying in my lane, right, but moving them off to the side, right, so that way they can get help safely. I'm not taking on the problem. I'm helping you be safe by supporting you to get out this road, because you're also stopping my progress, right? So I can help you move to the side, right? And I think that's the difference between that's the difference between knowing what care is and assignment is, right? I can love you and still know that this part of this issue is yours to work through. That's not mine, right? I can want to build something and ask if this is the right problem for me to solve. Is it the right problem for me to solve? And I think it takes a lot of what we've been talking about, right? All of this goes together, like we said. Doesn't matter whether it's a relationship, doesn't matter whether it's a business. But I just know that I don't have to carry everything to be a good person. I don't have to carry your problems and mine for me to be still a good person. Right? That's not what I'm called to do. And it doesn't matter whether you want to say like, oh, you're not a Christian, you're not taking on people's problems. Jesus said to cast your burdens on him because he cares. I never said to cast your burdens on me. You know what I'm saying? Your burdens ain't my burdens. That's not my cross to bear. Right? Jesus bared that cross, not me. So a lot of us need to ask ourselves, though, what in my life right now am I carrying that was never really meant for me? It was never really mine to begin with. Right? Because until I answer that, I might stay tired for reasons that have nothing to do with my purpose. It has everything to do with misassignment, misalignment, and me going outside of my goals and my purpose in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I need you to know that if it's not my problem to solve, right, carrying it is not going to make me any better of a person. It's just going to make me more tired. You know what I'm saying? If it's not my problem to solve, carrying it is not going to make me any better as a person, right? As a human. Just because I carried your problems, it makes me better? No, it just makes me tired. It's not my problem to carry. Right? I can use discernment and I can use compassion and support you. But I'm not about to carry your problem, bro. Or Miss Lady. So that's my take. That's my take. And I'm sticking to it. Okay? 2026, don't carry other people's problems. Right? You have problems of your own. Handle those. Stay focused on yours. And I believe that you will find much more success in your life because you're built to handle your own problems. You are built to handle your own problems. So don't think, oh, this is too much for me, I can't handle it. Most of the time, if you think that something's too much for you and you can't handle it, it's probably because it's a problem that's not yours. So again, I need you to look at yourself and find out what problems are you carrying that's not yours. Because I'm telling you right now, I know for sure you are built to handle the problems, the traumas, the life that you're built for, the life that you have. But anytime that you add in problems that aren't yours, and now you're trying to handle those too, you're trying to carry things that aren't yours, you end up catching the brunt of it, never reaching your goals, making yourself feel overworked, underloved. You feel like you don't have enough and you're never enough, and that you are less than the person who you're meant to be. No, you're not. You are meant to be who you're meant to be, and that's because you're built for the problems that you have, and you don't need to carry somebody else's. Take a couple hours a day. It might be before you go to bed. It might be now if you're on your lunch break. It might be, maybe when you get off work, when you first get home, right? Really think it through. What problems do you feel like you have in your life? Make a list. Make a list of all the problems you feel like you have in your life, right? And once you make that list, really and truly figure out, are these problems mine or are they somebody else's? Right? I'm not talking about necessarily traumas. I'm talking about problems. Right? Whatever problems you have, are they your problem or are they somebody else's? Because once you know that, get rid of any problem that's not your problem. Don't take it on. Let it go. Get it out your head. That's not my problem. And if you need to reach out to that person and say, yo, bro, you know what? I'm not really going to be able to help out anymore on this right here, right? Sometimes you may have to have that conversation, right? Because I have a couple things going on in my life. I got to take care of these, and I'm not going to really be able to, put any effort into that. So I want to let you know in advance because, I know I said that I would do this, that, or the third. That I don't think I'm going to be able to do that because I'm overwhelmed with this, whatever this is on this side. You know what I mean? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Shame the devil. The thing about it is that problem's not your problem to carry, right? But I think it might be a little bit rude to tell somebody that's not my problem, right? Maybe, depending on how you put it across. But you have to think about it. You have to figure out how to solve that because me telling you how to solve that is not my problem. It's my problem to let you know these are things that you need to look at, which is whether or not the problems in your life are yours to solve. And if they're not yours to solve, get them to the person who it is. All right? Thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all for coming today. I appreciate everybody that's going to leave a comment, that's going to like, subscribe, on all the platforms. I just appreciate you, right? I have a lot of fun doing this, but I really feel like this is my problem to solve. This is something that I was led to do. I felt like I had what it took to be able to do this type of thing. And I keep doing it day after day. And I feel like I may be getting better. I feel like, the stream is getting better. We're getting more zoned in. So keep coming back. You know what I'm saying? Keep going, keep coming back. We're going to grow this thing. I think, just remember, man, every time that you come, try to bring somebody with you. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Follow your mans, Rich Bees, the real Rich Bees. Because I'm telling you right now, the more people that get into this chat, the more communication that we have that's two-way, the more comments that we're going to have on the videos, it helps us, right, to have better conversation, right? Because the two-way conversation makes my brain work even better than it does when I'm just going through the content, right? So that's why I'm telling you to get involved, come on the lives, right? Try your best to be there on the times when I go live. That's why I'm saying to follow. So when I'm live, it'll show up. You can jump in. And most of the time, I'm always doing something. I'm always either talking about a subject or we're going to get into doing some creative thing or some technological thing. Those are the areas that I run in, right? I stay in my lanes. I have like 3 or 4 lanes. Those are the lanes that I run in, and that's the only content you're gonna get from me, right? I'm not trying to give you some random stuff that's all out of whack. No, I stay in my lane, okay? Which is the same thing I'm trying to get you guys to do, right? Because that way you can stay focused, I can stay focused, we can all grow. What do I normally say? Say it with me. A rising tide raises all boats. So I want your boat to float and I want my boat to float. So let's raise up the tide for everybody else, okay? So we can all go up. we're going to be the best versions of ourselves. So continue to come back, continue to stick and stay. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Follow your mans, Rich Bees, the Real Rich Bees on all social medias. We have 48 followers right now on Twitch. We also have 4 subscribers on Twitch. I need to put some kind of graph up here for that. But we do have 4 subscribers still. We need to grow that number and reach our goal. Our goal is 10 subscribers. Our follower goal is 50. Right? So how fast can we get to the 50? It's only 2 more. So make sure you're following. If you see this video, make sure you get a follow. Make sure you do a like. Make sure you tell a friend. If you see the shorts, hey, make sure you like those, man. Share them. You know what I mean? Because those are little snippets of well curated snippets of pieces of these videos that I think is an easy thing to get across to somebody, and they can get a piece of the concept pretty quickly. Okay, so I'll see y'all next time. It is a Friday. You know, I randomly stream on the weekends, so make sure you're following, or you won't even know when I'm live on the weekends. But on the weekdays, we'll be back here sometime between 10 and 12 o'clock in the morning. If you ever have an idea of something that you wanted me to talk about on Twitch, go down in my suggestion box and you can put in a suggestion for something that you want me to talk about, okay? You can do that at any time, even when I'm live, when I'm not live. You can put a message in my suggestion box, and I'll take a look at it and figure out how I can address it, okay? Thank you. Appreciate you. See you next time. Have a great weekend. If I don't stream this weekend, then you make it a great weekend. I more than likely will, but make sure you're following so you know when. Thank you for coming. Rich Bees.